Hi, this is Alimayo Arango of littleguy.cgi.com, and today I'd like to show you my version of how to model a human head in Blender 2.74. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with left click. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe or other 3D programs. Also, while you're in here, click on Add-ons, scroll down, and you want to make sure that you have check marks next to these options. And that is right here. You want to check mark next to Mesh F2, Mesh Inset Polygon, Mesh Loop Tools, and also Mesh Relax. And you can see you just click and one in these boxes here to have these add-ons available to you as you model in Blender. Okay, this tutorial is actually going to be an update of, I believe it was the second tutorial that I ever did, which was a human head. When you first come into Blender, typically it's said that you should not go for something as complicated as the human form. You should probably do something like a car or an airplane. I heard that, and as soon as I heard it, I read it, and the place where I read it said, you shouldn't go for the human form. I was like, oh, I'm going for it, so I did a human head. One of the things I like about doing tutorials is that the tutorials, along with providing help for other people, also along with providing me a way to keep in my mind how to do different tips, tricks, modeling, whatever. It also gives me a way to look back at my own work and see how I've progressed. So this is some new things I've just learned recently about modeling the human head. So I just want to let you know why I was doing this. I had done a tutorial not too long ago of modeling a full human male, but I've actually learned some things since then. So here we go. Okay, if you're new to Blender, one of the things you should know is how to get around in Blender. And one of the ways of getting around is if you look all the way to your left, if you click right here, this is the navigation tab. From the navigation tab, I can press front, back, right, left, top, bottom, back to top, back to front. Just a nice way to get around. It doesn't matter whether I'm on a desktop or a laptop. You can just use these buttons to navigate your view while in Blender. Also, you can hold your middle mouse button, and this will also allow you to rotate your view around. Okay, when you first start up Blender, the first thing you'll see is a cube. Also, when you first start Blender, you start in object mode, which you can see which mode you're in right here. In object mode, you can take your cube or whatever object that you currently have selected, and you can move it up, down, left, right. If you click right here, you can go into edit mode. And in edit mode is where you have access to vertices, edges, and faces. And you can select your vertices, edges, and faces right here. Okay, and by manipulating these vertices, edges, and faces, that's how we're going to form our human head. So the first thing that we're going to want to do now is to click here to go into front view. We're then going to roll our mouse wheel to zoom this up some. This vertice here is selected, so I'm going to press A to deselect. And then I'm going to press A again to select the entire cube. Now that the entire cube is selected, I'm going to press W, and then I'm going to choose Subdivide Smooth. The reason why I chose Subdivide Smooth is because we're going for a human head. The human head is rounded. It's just an easy way to get us off and running as far as getting a rounded shape. Now, after you select that Subdivide Smooth, you look to your left, you can see this Subdivide menu pops up here, and it says number of cuts right beneath it. Just click this number of cuts up to 3. Okay, and with those cuts in there, what we're going to do now is with vertice select on, which you can see selected right here, you're going to click this vertice right here. So we're just going to select that because we selected that everything else was deselected and just this vertice was selected. Now what we're going to do is select right here where it says right view, we're now going to press our O key, and by pressing the O key right here, this thing just turned on. And what this is this is the proportional editing tool. And you can press O to turn this on. You also can click here and disable it, and click enable to turn it back on. And basically what this proportional edit tool allows us to do is it allows us to move more than one vertice, edge, or face at a time. It's particularly useful as far as modeling organic shapes. So we have this tool turned on now. You can see that blue circle right there letting us know that the proportional edit tool is on. However, it would be useful to be able to see how much area of influence is controlled by this proportional edit tool. And the way we can do that is we can press the G key. So as soon as I press the G key, you can see that circle just popped up. That circle will show us the influence that this tool is working with. By rolling my mouse wheel, I can increase the influence of the proportional edit tool. So I'm going to take it to about this big, pull down, and then I'm just going to roll my mouse wheel a little bit so I can get the shape to about like that. I'm going to left click to lock in. Okay, now I'm going to hold my middle mouse button and I'm just going to turn the view like this. I'm then going to go to face select, and I am going to then press C for paint select. And with this paint select, you see that little circle right there. If I roll my mouse, I make this area that I can use to select faces with bigger, or I can roll the other way and make it smaller. So what I want to do is grab these 8 faces right there. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to click right here to go back to right view, and then I'm going to press G so I can see my area of influence, and then Y so I know that I'm pulling on the Y axis. I'm going to pull back just a little, about like that. I'm going to left click to lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect all of that those faces there. We're going to hold the middle mouse button so we can see the bottom of this head here, or it's going to be a head. We're going to press C for paint select again, and we're going to select these 8 faces here. And you'll notice that as we model, we tend to do a lot of things as far as 4 faces and then 8 faces. And also, as you 3D model, you'll notice that typically you have to look from front to left and basically rotate around your object. So the only reason why we turn a view was to get a better view here, and a lot of times as we go through this tutorial, that's what we'll be doing, is just slightly changing the angle just so we have the best view to manipulate our vertices, edges, or our faces. Okay, so with these faces selected, we have our proportional edit tool still on. We want to turn this off. We can either click here and go for disable, or we can press the O key, as in the letter O, to turn it off. We're then going to press click right here to go back to the right view. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back some. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm now going to press E to extrude, no axis. See that line right there is giving me a preview of where I'm going to extrude these faces to, or how they're going to be extruded, the directions. I'm just going to go right along that line, about like this. I'm going to left click to lock in. Okay, and with these faces still selected, we're going to take our manipulator, which is this blue-green thing that you see right here, and we're just going to push this forward some, maybe push down a little bit like that. Okay, now that we have this pushed forward some, what we're going to do is hold our middle mouse button just to turn our view. Before, when I did my human heads in the past, what I would do is I would press S to scale, and go through a method of shaping this neck a little bit. This way is a little bit different than before. If you press S to scale, typically what happens is you'll scale in on all axes, right? There's another way to scale, and what that is you can press S to scale, and then if you press Shift before in axis, you'll scale in every direction but that axis. So without trying to make it sound too complicated, because it really isn't, what we're going to do is press S to scale. Okay, so we just pressed S, now we're in scale mode. Now we're going to press Shift Z, and what those lines are coming out are showing us that how we're going to scale along the axes, and we're going to scale on every axis but Z. So we're just going to pull out a little bit to the side. Then we're going to left click to lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. We're then going to press Control R. And what Control R does is, see, when I move the mouse over the neck area, see that purple line? Purple line is showing us a preview of where a loop cut is going to be placed, and that is what Control R does. It allows you to easily access loop cuts. There was an issue before where some people had an issue as far as using Control R to activate their loop cut. So another way you can get to loop cuts besides pressing Control R, which I would recommend you did, but if by some chance you can't get Control R to work, see right here. So we're in the Tools menu right here, right, or the Tools tab menu, I should say. If you look down, see where it says Loop Cut Slide. I'm going to left click here, and now when I move my mouse over, you see there's the same basic thing as Control R. Alright, so we have one loop cut preview there. I'm going to roll the mouse one time to have two loop cuts. I'm going to left click to lock in, left click one more time to totally lock in. Now, just like we did a few moments ago, I'm going to press S to scale and then Shift Z, so we scale on every axis but the Z axis. And I'm just going to push in a little like that, and I'm going to left click to lock in. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the navigation tab menu. We're going to select front to go to front view. You see right here it says we're in front ortho view, which is orthographic view. Orthographic view is kind of like straight on, straight off. Like this face is perfectly towards us, right? If I click here, it puts me in perspective mode, and you can see perspective mode is, it's kind of like I don't know, a more normal view. However, orthographic view is very useful for certain tasks, particularly the one we're about to do. So you want to make sure you're in front orthographic view. So we're going to click here to go back to front orthographic view. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we still have these edges here selected, so we're going to press A to deselect them. One of the things we can do as we work on this head model is we can make things easier for ourselves by cutting this model in half and then replacing the part that we cut away with a mirror modifier. And basically what that does is it allows us to effectively do half of the work that we normally would have to do in modeling this human male head. Okay, when you select things in Blender, the way we have things set up right now is if I go to face select and I select the face right here, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just so you can turn to see the back. See how we only selected the front? We didn't, select the front and the back. Many times it is useful to have Blender set up. Most of the time, to be honest, it's better, in my opinion, to have it set up like this, where you just select one part of the mesh without selecting through to the other side. However, in this time that we're in right now, for what we're about to do with the mirror modifier, we want to be able to select the front and the back. So I'm going to select right here to go back in the front view. I'm going to press A to deselect, and then what's going to allow me to select the front as well as the back side of this head is I'm going to press the Z key. When I press the Z key, I'm going to go to wireframe mode. Oh, and by the way, that mode that popped up, if you're like, what is that mode? If you go to File, User Preferences, literally go all the way to the bottom, and you put a check mark here, you'll see it says User Interface Pi, Menus Official. You put a check mark right there. That will give you that Pi menu that you just saw pop up. Not that you need the Pi menu, because if you don't have it activated, you'll still press Z, you'll still be able to see the transparency that you need. Anyway, with this model now being transparent, now we can select the front as well as the back at the same time. So what we want to do is select this whole half right here. You can see that we are right. We have our point of origin directly here in the center, which is what you want to have your mirror modifier work correctly. And yeah, we want to take exactly this half of this model and basically delete it. So what we're going to do is press B. You're going to move your mouse around here, this area, press B, and then you're going to left click and drag to form a kind of rectangle selection. You can see I'm just grabbing that whole half part of the head right there. You let go, I have all this part selected. Now I'm going to press X to bring up my delete menu. Then I'm going to choose faces. So now that, you know, that side is gone just like, you know, how we wanted it to be going. Okay, and with this point of origin right here exactly in the center, which is where we want it to be, what we're going to do is I'm going to roll the mouse wheel here to make this, you know, move to the side, this panel. I'm going to click here, which is our modifier, brings up our modifier panel. I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to look for the mirror modifier. I'm going to select the mirror modifier, and the mirror modifier is already set up to mirror on the x-axis, which is exactly what we want. You can see that this is kind of transparent looking to not have that, which I don't particularly care for. I'm going to select here. Then we're just going to press Z to bring up our options again, and we're going to choose solid. Okay, now that we have our mirror modifier model 1, what we're going to do is hold the middle mouse button. We're going to go to edge select. We're going to grab this part of the neck. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. You're going to grab right here, and you're going to pull this down some. Right here, we're going to pull this down some. Now we're actually going to push this forward some like that. And let's grab right here. So I'm holding shift to grab this, just these 4 edges right here. And we're actually going to push this forward some here. And go to vertice select this vertice here. And pull that forward somewhat. Okay, we're going to click here to go back to right view. Okay, now I'm just going to hold the middle mouse button and just take a look at what's going on here. This grid menu, I'm going to, it's getting in the way a little bit as far as seeing things, I think. So I'm going to press the end menu. I'm going to scroll all the way up, or almost all the way up. I'm going to look for display. I'm going to select here. Scroll down just a little. See this grid floor. By unchecking grid floor, you know, that's out of the way now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to roll our mouse wheel in, and because we're working on a male character, we're going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, rotate. We're going to select here, and we're going to just try to make what's going to be the jaw be wider. So just by selecting that edge and pulling down, selecting this edge and pulling down, we have like a wider base for this, what's going to be the jaw. Okay, when I first did my first human head tutorial, one of the things I said was when you're modeling a face, you kind of want to think about, it's almost like when you look into the sky and you can kind of see images sometimes, you know, different shapes form. It's kind of like that when you're working with this mesh. From what we already did, we have the basic shape here. Now we've got to pull out the features. So you want to try to imagine as you're working. I'm going to try to explain it to you as we go through. This right here is going to be basically the bottom part of the mouth, and we're going to be putting loop cuts in, pulling and pushing. But as we go through, try to imagine what's coming, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to go to vertice select. We're going to select here. We're going to push down here. What we're trying to do right now is we're trying to straighten this out. So we're just going to push this down here. And actually not just straighten it down, actually lower that line a little bit. All right. This is going to be turned into what's going to be the bottom part of the mouth. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, turn to the side, because I don't want this line that's going all the way around here to the back being this high. All right. So I'm going to select here without holding anything, right? So that deselected here, when I clicked here, I'm going to hold shift and select all this right here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices. I'm just going to push this down here. Take this one in the back, push this down here like that. This right here, I'm going to hold Alt and select right here. When you hold Alt, if you're on vertices, edges, or select, when you hold Alt and click, it will select the entire ring. So what we're going to do here is actually just pull this up some. Okay, now what we're going to do is hold the middle mouse button, rotate the view a little bit. I'm actually going to straighten this up a little bit up here too. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press A. We're going to press Shift and the middle mouse button to pan to the side. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut in. We're going to left click the lock in. Because we only clicked one time, this loop cut is movable. So we're going to pull it down just slightly. We're going to left click the lock in again. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press C and then hold the middle mouse button to deselect all of these vertices right here. And then push down here. Okay, before we go any further, I just hit A to deselect that line, by the way. You want to make sure you turn on this clipping in your modifier panel. You turn on this clipping so that when we do things, the model, this part of the model doesn't pull away from its mirrored part. Okay, so we're gonna with vertices select on, we're gonna select right here, pull this up, and David Ward in one of his recent tutorials called this the muzzle, and I thought that was kind of funny, referring to a person. However, I like it as a description. So this muzzle area, you kind of want to have just this curved line here. This doesn't have to be exactly here in the bottom, but you want this because it definitely helps with the typology of the face later on. Typology being just, I guess what would typology? I guess you would define typology as flowing lines that flow well. Anyway, with vertices select on, we're going to select this vertice right here, push this down, and we kind of want this area to look like glasses or like visors. This kind of reminds me of like the old figure of the G.I. Joe character Snake Eyes. You kind of want it like that. Okay, with that clipping turned on, and with this in this sunglass like shape here, you want to go to face select. You want to select here, hold shift, select here, here. Now what you want to do is press E to extrude, left click to lock in. Now it doesn't look like anything happened with what we just did, but when we pressed that E to extrude, what we did was we created new geometry on top of the old geometry. So all of this now can scale down, and that's what we're about to do. So we're going to press S to scale this down like that. Okay, and with this area extruded in now, I find that this really helps a lot for again, typology. You know, when I first started, I was just trying to get a basic head shape. Now I actually want to, try to work my way forward so that these models do have good typology. Anyway, with this still selected, what you're going to do now is roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. We're going to select right here to go in the front view. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. And roll the mouse wheel just to zoom up a little bit. We're going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool. We're then going to press G, then we're just going to press Z so that we're moving on the Z axis. What we want to do is pull this eye area up some, about like that. Then left click to lock in. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to press A, which will deselect the eye area. We're then going to press A again to select the entire head shape so far, and then we're just going to take our manipulator. Let's press O to turn off our proportional editing tool. You can tell that it's off if it's gray right here. So then you're just going to take your manipulator, which you see right here, and just push the head towards itself slightly. And then we're actually going to press S to scale in the Z axis slightly. Okay, now we're going to press the A button to deselect everything. We're then going to, this is kind of interesting here. What we're going to do now is we're going to see this line right here. We're actually going to go to edge select right here, select this line, and push this line in like that. Then we're going to go to vertice select. We're going to push this line in somewhat. Select this vertice up here, push this in somewhat. We're then going to press Control R to put a loop cut right here, right to the center of the eye. We're going to left click to lock in, left click again to totally lock it in. We're then going to go to face select. We're going to select here, hold shift, select here, here, here. You also could have paint selected. I just, for the moment of the preference, chose to do it that way. You're then going to hit E to extrude, left click to lock in. You're then going to press S to scale. About like that. You're going to take your manipulator, push the eyes in a little bit. Like that. And now I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in so you can see this a little bit easier. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view down. And roll the mouse in a little bit closer. We're now going to go to edge select. We're going to select here. You're going to hold Shift and select here. You're going to just take these two edges. We're just pushing this towards the center of the eye. We're then going to go to vertices select. And you're going to just select here. Push that way. Select here. Pull this way. Select here. Move this up slightly. Select this vertice. Move this down slightly, and that's a lot of 3D modeling is pushing and pulling vertices. Okay, now let's press A to deselect that vertex right there. We're going to go to face select, select here, hold shift, select here, here, and here. Now we're going to press S to scale on the Z axis. That. Then we're going to press S to scale just to bring them down a little bit more, push them in slightly a little bit more. Okay, now what we want to do is, you see how this line right here goes straight up and down, and then this line curves over here. What we want to do is go to vertices select, select right here, and push this over so this line, kind of flows up. We'll grab here so this line comes up. We'll make room by pushing these vertices here to the side somewhat. See this line right here, instead of going down, it's going to the sides. We'll just grab that, push that over. And you see how you can just kind of see like the lines flow better by, just by those adjusting those vertices. And what I'm going to do now is hold the middle mouse button and just look to the side a little bit, look around. Okay, push this over here some. I'm just pushing and pulling those vertices, or just pushing the vertices in that case. When I roll my mouse wheel to zoom in again. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to roll our mouse wheel back and hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan up. Select this vertice here, push this in a little bit. And what we're going to do is go to face select. We're going to press C for paint select, and we're going to just select this whole muzzle area here. Now we're going to press E to extrude, left click to lock in, and then S to scale. Now as we scale, this is what we're trying to do here. As we're scaling, imagine that we are forming the actual lips here. All right, that's basically what's going on. So we're going to take the geometry that we have, and we're going to actually try to form a pair of lips out of this space right here. Okay, so we're also going to, with this area selected, we're going to pull this up just slightly. And we're going to go to vertices select, and again, we're forming the shape of two lips pretty much together. Let me zoom in so you can see better. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button to pan up. So it's kind of like the dip, and this is the upper lip, this is the bottom lip basically. I'm just going to press S to scale on the Z axis. Okay, and as far as when I was talking about typology or good typology before, one of the reasons for that is so that when you make a character, if you want to animate that character, or if there's even a chance in the future that you can animate that you might animate that character or hand it off to somebody to be animated, having a good typology will help you. I'm still learning, my typology is much better when I started, but I still have ways to go. So one of the things I'm actually looking forward to with this tutorial is looking back on this, like I looked back on, you can actually see my first human head tutorial just on the the progress that I've made. So anyway, with this with these lips selected, what we're going to do now is we're going to press right, and what we want to do is we still have the lips selected. We want this area to come out some. So what we're going to do is take our manipulator, we're going to push this out about like this, about like that, and we can always come back and change things later on. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and middle mouse button just to pan this down. Roll back just a little bit. Okay, so one of the things we need to do while we're at this side view, we're going to press A to deselect. We're then going to go to vertices select. We're going to select right here and see how we have this pushed out. That's how we want it. We also need to have this be more roundish, as far as like it's kind of roundish from the front. We need it from the side also. So we're just going to select this vertex here, and we're just going to pull back. And we're going to pull back on, you know, a few different vertices just to you know, give us space. We'll push this down, push this down, not too much. See that when I push down too much, you gotta watch so that if you push if you grab a vertice sometimes and you push too far, you can start to get out of control with it. And we'll come back and we'll adjust things as we go. But you see how now we have this just more space with this muzzle part kind of coming back more, so that's what we want. Okay, now what we need to do is I'm going to zoom in so you can see. We're going to make sure we're on vertices select. We're going to grab these vertices right here, the 3 vertices right there, and what we want to do is see the eye here. We want to pull back. This is the corner of the lips. We want to pull this back to the front of the eye, so we're just going to pull. You can kind of see about there, so we should be good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is hold our middle mouse button and kind of look at the front, see how this is going. So even though we pulled it back to the side and it looks good, we're actually going to push forward slightly there just to adjust it. Okay, then hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to select front here, so we're back in front orthographic view. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to go to face select. We're going to zoom in on this mouth, on these lips. Hold shift to select all these faces here, press X to delete, then we're going to choose from the delete menu faces. And now we deleted all those faces to meet up the lips, and the reason why was so we could do this. We're going to go to edge select, we're going to hold alt, select the edge right here, and then what we're going to do now is press E to extrude, left click to lock in. It doesn't look like we did anything, but what we did was we just created new geometry right here along the edge, and because of that new geometry, now what we can do is we can press S to scale and reform these lips in a sense. Okay, and now what we're going to do, because what we did was we have, you know, now we have this extra geometry for actual lips. We have our mouth here, and we have the lips here. We also have this hole right here, which is very important because we can now use this to create a mouth, you know, teeth, a tongue, and all that. Now, if you saw my earlier human head tutorials or some of the other earlier tutorials I've done, typically what I would do is I would design a character with its mouth wide open, and then I would do the mouth that way, which it works, but I kind of like this way better. Mainly because, to be honest, my wife used to make fun of me when she saw those characters. She thought they looked funny. I was like, they have their mouths open because they're trying to put. I'm going to put teeth and stuff in there later. But anyway, with this, just this whole left here, you can still hook it up later. As far as a mouth, a tongue, and teeth and all that. But you can have your character for the most part have its mouth be shut. So anyway, I'm going to go to vertices select. I'm going to select right here. I'm just going to push this in some here. I'm going to select right here, push this in some right here. Now what we need to do again is we need to pull, we're going to need to pull these 3 vertices to the side again. So we're going to select here, hold shift, select here. We're going to go to right here. And you see how they're kind of like bunched up in front. So what we need to do is just pull this back some like that. And then I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to select here. Only reason I'm selecting here is just to get it to deselect here so I can reselect here. And then I'm just going to pull this back some. I'll pull this back a little bit more. And now let's hold the middle mouse button and see what we got. We'll pull this to the side some. Okay. So now we're going to take this, push this in here. We'll push this down, something like that. Okay, now what we're going to do, let me zoom in on the mouth again. We're going to press Control R to put a loop cut in. You're going to move your mouse until you see that preview going around the ellipse. Then you're just going to see there's one loop cut there. So when I roll the mouse wheel up, there's two. I'm going to roll it one more time, so there's three. So you're putting three loop cuts in. Then you're going to left click to lock in, left click one more time to totally lock in. Okay, now we're going to zoom back some. And now we're going to set up to have lines as far as for animation for the mouth, but also to help us form the nose. So we're going to press Control R yet again to bring up another loop cut, and then we're going to roll one more time. Then we're going to left click to lock in, left click twice to totally lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is press A to deselect, and we're going to start to form the nose. So we're going to go to Face Select. We're going to go right underneath of this brow, and we're going to select right here. We're going to hold Shift and select here, 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 and here. We're then going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. Bring this out to about like there. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. Just rolling the mouse wheel to zoom in. We're going to go to Edge Select. We're going to select right here. We're going to push down slightly right there. We've got this big block right here, which we don't want. We're going to select this edge right here, take our manipulator and push back. We're going to select here, push back here as well. As you form the nose, you don't want your lines to go exactly back. You kind of want them to go back and also up. So we're going to select here, push back, and also up. Same here, back and up. Then here, we'll push this up, then back a little bit. And then you can make, minor adjustments. We'll push this back some more, push this down. And, different people have different noses, so you kind of want this. See how you can see these blocks facing here? You want this to be tilted up somewhat so you can, somewhat see the nostrils that are going to form on the bottom of the nose. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect everything. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn to the side. This right here is where our nostrils are going to be formed from. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Vertice Select. We're going to push this down just slightly. Just so that nostril size is a little bit easier to work with, since we know that we're going to be forming it from here. And here we can come back and make adjustments later on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to Edge Select. We're going to select here, and we're going to hold Shift and select here. We're going to pull this out just slightly, not too much. We're going to go to Face Select now. Select here, hold Shift, and select here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press E to extrude on the X-axis. Take the nose out. You can see there's the nostrils forming there now. We're going to press S to scale. No axis. We're going to take our manipulator and pull these back. Now we're going to go, let me zoom in so you can see this. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan up. So we have the nostrils, kind of pulled back so they're almost flush with the face. Now we're going to go back to Vertice Select. We're going to select right here, push this vertice in some. Select here, push this, whoops, right click. Select here, push this vertice in some, like that. Minor adjustments there. Now what we're going to do is go to a modifier panel here, so you can see from the wrench, this is our, it looks like a wrench to me anyway, our modifier panel. And what you're going to do is temporarily turn off this middle button, which is clipping. You're going to go to Face Select. Then you're going to select here, hold Shift, and select here. Okay, and because we turned off the clipping option, now when we press E to extrude, and then left click to lock in, and like previously when we did this, we created new geometry. Now when we press S to scale, instead of, if the clipping was on, there being a hole formed across all of this now, even though this is the actual part of the model and this is the mirrored, because this clipping is off. Now when we press S to scale, You can see we have two separate individual nostrils, which is what we want. So take it down a little bit smaller, about like that. Left click to lock in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to press A to deselect. We're then going to press and hold Control to put a loop cut right here. We're going to left click once to lock in, left click again to totally lock in. The reason why we did that put this loop cut in here was just so we could shape the nostrils and add some more geometry so we could shape the nostrils around here. And the goal is we want to take away this kind of square slope here, take away the kind of square slope of the nostril. So what we're going to do is go to Vertice Select. We're going to select here, pull this over a little bit, select here. Let me zoom in so you can see better. Select here, pull that over. See, I'm just getting rid of that squarish shape is my objective here, and putting that loop cut in. You see, I've just formed a more circular shape. So now with that done, we're going to go to Face Select, select here, 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 and here. Okay, now what we're going to do is press E to extrude on the Z-axis, and see that purple line shows you where you're going to move. See how it disappeared? I'm just going to press Z again, comes right back again. Then I'm just going to push this straight up. You don't want to push this up too far because you don't want the geometry that we just extruded up to pop out through the top part of the nose. So with that still selected, that geometry in there, I'm going to press S to scale that down some. Okay, and now that we have this split going here, what we're going to do is go to Vertice Select, and we'll just pull this part of the nostril just out slightly. Okay, now that we did the nostril part, by the way, make sure that you go back here to your mirror modifier panel and turn clipping back on by putting a check mark here. Now we're going to zoom back, take a look at this for a second. Now we'll zoom back in. We're going to press A to deselect right here. We're going to go to Face Select. We're going to hold Shift and select here and here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn to the side slightly. And then I'm going to press E to extrude and just ride that up a little bit like that. And then I'm going to press S to scale. And I'm doing that just to give a little bit of more shape to the nose. I'm going to go to Edge Select and just push down here slightly. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom back and give some shape to what will be the chin. So we're going to go to a Vertice Select. We're going to select this vertice, push this up some here. This vertice, push this up some here. We're going to hold the middle mouse button until pull back a little bit, pull this in a little. We'll select this vertice here. We'll pull this back a little. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select this vertice, hold Shift, and select this vertice here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side, and we're going to push this out about like that. I'm just holding the middle mouse button, just taking a look at everything. Just slightly here. Okay, and now let's hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan down. I'm going to hover my mouse right here. I'm going to see this is still selected here, so I'm going to press A to deselect there. I'm going to press Control R to put a loop cut right here. Then I'm going to roll one time to put one more loop cut. Then I'm going to left click once, then left click again to totally lock in. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, let's add some ears to this guy. So we're going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. And see this right here, how this line is very close to this line right here. So what we can do is I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And we're just going to select right here. We're on Vertice Select, so we're just selecting right here. I'm just going to pull this line down some. See how it looks in the back. Okay. Okay, what we want to do now is we still have this vertice selected here, so let's press A to deselect it. We're going to go to Face Select. We're going to select here, 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 and here. And pretty much what we want is for this geometry that we're going to make the ear out of, and the ear itself, we want it to be in the center of this side of the head for the most part. So we're going to push this forward just a little bit. You want to make sure you have some space between the front of the face here and the ear here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to press E to extrude to create new geometry. We're going to left click to lock in. We're going to press S to scale that new geometry we just made. We're going to push this forward just slightly. And what we want is for the ear is we want the ear, the top part of the ear should come right to about the top of the, or right to around the brow, top of the eye area, and then go down to around the nostril area or bottom of the nose area. So with these faces still selected, we're going to hold them in the mouse button, turn to the side. We're going to press E to extrude on the X-axis. You can see there's that red preview line showing us how we're going to go. We're going to pull out like this. Now we're actually going to press S to scale up some, like that. Left click to lock in. Okay, for this next part, we're just going to make this ear circular. Now you can manually manipulate your vertices so that the ear turns circular. I like to use loop tools so that you can make sure that you have your loop tools add-ons option on. You would just go to File, User Preferences, go to Add-ons, and then go down a little bit more than halfway down, and you see right here it says Mesh Loop Tools. Just make sure you have a check mark right next to Mesh Loop Tools, and you'll be able to do this next part. So when you press W, bring up your Specials menu, and right at the top you see Loop Tools, and then we're just going to go to Circle. And it just, what it does, it just automatically makes the shape circular, which is, it's nice and it's quick. Okay, so now with that done, what we're going to do is we're going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis. See that? When I press Z, see the line going up and down there, showing us a preview of how we can turn. So we're just going to turn like that. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, look to the front. And we're going to push this down just slightly. And then we're going to press S to scale slightly. Because again, I'm trying to get it, between here and the nose, and it, for the most part, it is. We'll adjust it. We can always adjust it in scope move a little bit later. So we're going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis. We'll pull out just a little bit like that. And now what we're going to do is press E to extrude, left click to lock in to create new geometry. Then we're going to press S to scale that new geometry down. Then we're going to press E to extrude to take it in slightly, then S to scale this down a little bit. I'm going to press A to deselect there. I'm going to zoom in so you can see this next part. And basically what we're doing with this part is we're going to connect this ear, the pieces here to there. The vertice here to there, they're kind of hard to see, but we're going to go to vertice, select, try to zoom in so you can kind of see. Maybe I'll even pull the geometry so you can see it. So if I pull this back here, you can kind of see there's like a vertice right there. So I want to select here and then hold shift and select there. I had to pull hard to get it. And then so we have this vertice selected and this vertice selected. After that, you're going to press Alt M. This brings up our merge menu, and I like at last selection. I mean, a choice I use is at last, so it merges those two vertices together. We're going to do the same thing here. Hold shift, select the vertice right there, press Alt M, choose at last, and then the same thing here. Hold shift, select that vertice, hold shift, select there. Actually, let me push this one down first somewhat, not too much. I'm going to select here again, hold shift, and when I select it here, it deselected there. So selecting here, holding shift, selecting here, I'm going to press Alt M at last. And it kind of makes that ear be attached how ears are attached. We're now going to go here, select here, and here I'm holding shift to select all of them. Push this down just slightly. I think I'm going to grab right here, the back here, and push this in slightly like that. Okay, now we're going to hold the middle mouse button and turn back to the front just to take a look. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect was deselected there. Now we're going to press A again to select everything. We're going to press S to scale on the X-axis, right? Now when I do this, you're going to see the nose and the middle part start to look like it spreads. That's fine. And you can see it looking like it's spreading there, right? We're just doing it just a little bit, and I'm going to left click to lock in. And now I'm going to just take, with everything still selected, just take the manipulator and just push in slightly. I just wanted to make the head a little bit slimmer, and that's a decent way to do it. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to roll the middle mouse wheel in. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to go to face select. We're going to select here. We're going to hold shift. We're going to select here, here, and here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button just to turn to the side a little bit. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis, pull in just a little bit. I'm going to press S to scale in just a little bit. And I'm going to press X to bring up my delete menu. And I'm going to choose faces to delete the faces there. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold our middle mouse button just to rotate the view a little bit. We're going to go to edge select. We're going to hold Alt. And by holding Alt and selecting here, it's going to allow me to select this entire edge loop going around. So I'm holding Alt, I select here. You can see it selected the entire, it being Blender, selected the entire edge loop. I'm then going to press Shift S to bring up our Snap To menu. I'm then going to choose Cursor to selected to put the 3D cursor right in the center of this selected loop. Okay, and with that done, this entire time, or almost the entire time we've been in edit mode, we're finally going to go out of edit mode for a little while. We're going to click here and go to object mode. So we're going to zoom back. Our 3D cursor is still right there, which is where we want it. We're now going to press Shift A. This brings up our Add To menu. We're then going to make sure you have Mesh selected here. And then in this menu, you're going to go to UV Sphere. Okay, when UV Sphere first comes in, you want to look immediately to your left. You'll see this Add UV Sphere menu. If you clicked anything after you brought it in, typically this menu will disappear. So you want to bring in your UV Sphere without clicking anything. Look right to your left, right to here. And you want to change this segments, which says 32 to 12. You want to change rings down to 12. You want to left click to lock in there. Okay, one thing that's important to remember, especially for animation, if you might be thinking about animating this later on, when you move objects in object mode, the advantage that you have is that you have this point of origin will stay in the point of origin. So basically this is going to be an eyeball, so I want to move this back, and you can see the point of origin is still in the center. Hopefully you can still see that. It's in the center of here. I'm going to press S to scale this down. So I'm just going to push it forward to bring it out. And then I'm going to press S to scale it down. And, trying to get it so it can be right for the eye socket. And there's that orange point of origin, right? If you move an object in edit mode, the point of origin will move. And there's ways to get it back. Each time, whenever you move something in Blender, each thing has its disadvantage or disadvantage depending on what you're trying to do. When you move and scale an object in object mode, one of the things you want to do after you move it and scale it is you want to press Control A. And you'll see this menu that comes up that says Apply, right? Basically, the reason why I'm telling you all this is if you look here, you press the End menu and you look where it says I have the eye still, the UV sphere selected. See right here where it says location 0.51, all this other stuff. You don't want that. You want it to be like how it is for here. This rotation says 0. Same thing with scale. It says sorry, not same thing. Scale was also not on 0 like location. So you want it to be like rotation, and it's I don't want to get too much into it now, but there's an easy way to bring this back, even though you moved it in object mode, to being like the rotation. So what we're going to do is you're just going to press Control A, and then you watch what happens. Look at that before I click location, apply location. You see how it says 0.5, all that. So when I click location, now you can see that it is zeroed out. And then I'm going to press Control A again. I still have the UV sphere selected. I'm going to choose scale, and this is where it's not 0, but it's where it should be. Anyway, now that we have that done, what we're going to do is select here. We're going to go back into edit mode, but actually I shouldn't say back because we're going into edit mode for the first time for this UV sphere. We're going to select here to go into front mode. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to come out. I'm going to press N to take away that properties panel menu. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. And now what I want to do is work on what's going to be this eye, right? So an easy way to do that is if you click right here where it says view global and view local. If we select this, what happened is we are now in the front orthographic local mode for just this object right here. And it's very useful for you when you want to work on something without being distracted by other things or other objects being around in the area. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to roll back. And what we're going to do with this entire UV sphere selected is we're going to press Shift D, right? And then just pushing Shift D, not clicking or pushing anything else. We're just going to pull to the right just a little bit so we can see that by pressing Shift D, we made a duplicate of that UV sphere. So because I only press Shift D, I didn't click anything, whatever. All I did was move the mouse. I didn't click anything on the mouse. So now when I right click, that sphere jumps right back to where it was before we moved it, right? So now what you're going to do, you have that sphere still selected. The duplicated one, the second one you have selected. So you're going to press S to scale 0.94. Left click to lock in. Now what happened is that we scaled it. Think of it as like we scaled it to 94% of what it was by putting 0.94. That sphere is still selected inside. We just can't see it, and that's exactly how we want it to be. So what we're going to do now is, knowing that we still have it selected, even though we can't see it, all right, we're going to press R to rotate on the x-axis 90. Then left click to lock in. You can see when it rotated, it's popping through just a little bit, and we want it to be like that, and you'll see why in a second. Okay, so now what you're going to do is we're going to zoom in actually somewhat. We zoomed in and it made it so we can't see that inside UV sphere, which is fine. We're going to press, we know that it's still selected, so we're going to press A to deselect it. And just to make sure it's deselected, we're going to press A so we select everything, and then A again so we select nothing, right? What you're going to do now is you're going to look right to this halfway point. And what we want to do is we're going to go to Face Select, then we're going to press C for Paint Select, and we're going to paint this entire bottom of the sphere. We're then going to press right click to get out of Paint Select, press X to bring up our delete menu, and then choose Faces to delete the faces. You can see there's our UV sphere we had made inside. We're going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side and do the same thing. We're going to press C for Paint Select, and we're just selecting this whole bottom part of this UV sphere. Right click to get out of Paint Select, middle mouse button to rotate, and then we're going to press C for Paint Select again, and we're just going to select again the last parts of this bottom part of the original sphere, and then press X to bring up our delete menu, and then Faces to delete those faces. Okay, now with the entire bottom half of that original sphere deselected, we're going to press here to go back to front view. Then we're going to hold our middle mouse button, and actually we can push here to go to the right view. And with this cursor right here, what we want to do now is click here, and then Blender's default pivot point is the medium point. We want to change this to the 3D cursor. So now what we're going to do is hover our mouse over this top eyelid. We're going to press L to select that entire top eyelid. Because this is on pivot point, we're able to rotate and pivot this pivot around this 3D cursor. So, and also because we're in right orthographic mode, when we when we rotate, we'll actually rotate on the axis that we're looking at. So we're just going to press R with no rotation axis and just up like this, and this is the top eyelid. So we're moving this out of the way so the eye would be able to see, or would be able to see. Then we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press go to Edge Select, and then we're going to hold Alt and select right here. Okay, now with that selected, what we're going to do is press E to extrude, left click to lock in. Then we create a new geometry by doing E to extrude. Now we're going to press S to scale, and we're going to scale in a little bit. And what that's doing is giving us some thickness to this eyelid. Okay, now with that done, what we're going to do is press A to deselect. We're going to hold Alt while selecting on edge select and select here to select that entire edge loop there. And now with that done, what we're going to do is we're going to press Control B, pull very slightly, and you can see right there, there's a bevel. Okay, when we put that bevel on there, if you look to your left, just like when we brought the UV sphere in, you can see that here is options for the bevel that we just did. So what we want to do is we want to turn the segments up to 2, and we want to click here for profile and put 1. And it'll give us a sharpness to this eyelid that will, I think, makes it look better. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to select here to go back to right view. We're going to press A to deselect there. We're going to press L to select this entire top part of this eyelid. We're then going to press Shift D to duplicate the eyelid. You can see it's duplicated. Typically when I duplicate an object, I'll pull to the side just like I did before, then I'll right click just to get it to go right back. We still want to have the pivot point selected, so we'll still rotate around this cursor right here. So we'll press R and then rotate down. So now we have, a bottom eyelid, and we have also the detail that we put in from the bevel and all that gets duplicated onto the bottom eyelid. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to hold our middle mouse button and turn to the front. We're then going to press A to deselect. We're then going to go to face select. We're going to press C. We're selecting all of this right here and all of this right here. So we're just going to paint select all of that, right? We're going to right click to get out of that. We're going to click here, change our pivot point back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the medium point. We're going to left click on there. We're going to select here to go in the right view. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press S to scale on the Y axis, -1. And then left click to lock in. And then with that area there still selected, we're just going to pull back, because see how it's popping through the eyelid here? This geometry is popping through that eyelid geometry. So we're just going to pull back like that so we don't have that. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button so I can turn around to the front. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel in a little bit, and I'm going to press A to deselect. And then I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm going to select here, and I right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side a little bit. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. There's our preview line showing us where we're going to extrude to, and we're just going to pull back just slightly. I'm going to press S to scale to shrink this down some. I'm going to go to vertice select. I'm selecting here just to deselect there. That was the only purpose of selecting that vertice there. I'm going to select this vertice here and just pull back just slightly. I'm now going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, select here. I'm going to press Control B to bevel. Left click to lock in. Because we previously set up 2 segments and changed this profile to 1, this bevel will, also have that. So what I'm going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to press and hold Alt, select this edge loop right here, press Control B, pull back slightly for that bevel. You can see it right there. Left click to lock in. And again, we have the 2 segments and the profile 1 still even on that bevel there. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to press A to select everything. We're going to press and hold Control and then press 2. And then what that did was that automatically put a subdivision modifier with a view and render of 2 on. We could have just went to the modifier, clicked and added the subdivision service, but a shortcut is Control 2, so that's what we did. With that selected, we're going to select this arrow looking thing right here, and this just gives us a smooth look. You can still see these kind of like square shaded right here, so we're going to press Z and then choose shade smooth, and now you can see that the eye looks pretty smooth. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click here. When I click here, this is going to take us back into global view where you can see the rest of our head that we've been working on all this time. And there you go. Okay, one of the things we're going to do now that we're back in this view, we can see the head is one, when we come out of here, we're going to see this origin point for this eye is off now. We want that origin point because right now we're in the edit mode of the eye. We want this right to be in the center of the eye, so I'll show you how to deal with that. And then we're going to go into the head and make a little bit more room for the eye to fit in there. So let's click here, go to object mode, and then we're going to select the eye right here, right? And actually that you can see that's the head selected, so we'll select again. And if you're wondering if you're actually selected on something, you can also look right from here to your outliner menu, and you can see our sphere selected. So what we want to do to get this origin point back on that eye where it should be is we're going to press object, go to transform, and then we're going to choose origin to geometry. And you can see once we click that, that origin snapped right to that eye, and that's just how you want it to be. It'll give you issues later on if you don't have that origin point right in the center of this eye, especially if you're planning to do a animation. Okay, now that we have that taken care of, we're going to select back on the head. We're going to click edit to go into the edit mode for the head. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to go to face select. We're going to hold alt and we're going to select right here. So because we had on face select, we selected this whole ring of faces here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool, which you can see it's on right there by this blue dot showing that the proportional editing tool is on. We're going to press G to bring up G to be able to see which area of influence we're influencing by the proportional editing tool, and then by rolling our mouse we can make it smaller or bigger. We're going to make it about this small, and then we're going to press S to scale, just to scale that out a little bit for that eye. And we're actually going to press S to scale in the Z-axis. Z-axis like this. Just zooming out just to take a look. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to select here, here, and here. And we're going to press G, roll down the proportional edit tool. You can see that by that circle is getting fairly small there. We're going to press G, and then what the heck happened there? We're going to press G and then Y, like this, just to bring this back some. Like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to click here, select object, select the eye again. We're going to move this eye forward some. Just trying to get a good position for it. Press S to scale just slightly. I'm just taking the manipulator, pushing it around. Okay, now what we're going to do is because we moved this eye in object mode and we scaled it, we're going to press Control A. We're going to choose location. Then we're going to press Control A, and then we're going to choose scale, just to make sure we don't have any issues as far as the moving the object in object mode, which I went over previously. Anyway, so now what we want to do is get another duplicate of this eye to the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Shift C, and what that did was that put the 3D cursor directly in the center. So I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to roll in, and with this eye selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, change this pivot point from Blender's default pivot point, which is medium point, change this to the 3D cursor. I'm then going to press Shift D, pull to the side like I usually do. So here's the eyeball. I'm going to right click so it jumps right back to where it was. And now with this 3D pivot point option on, I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis -1, and then left click to lock in. And what that does is that puts the duplicate that we made of this eye pretty much exactly on the other side of this eye. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click here, change this pivot point back to the Blender's default pivot point, which is the medium point. And then this is the fun part, people. We have the basic head shape here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the head, and you can see it's selected by the outline going around it. Last time we pressed Control 2, which you can also do to put a subdivision surface on. I did that last time, so this time I'll show you. Here's the another way. I'll show you another way is what I meant. Here's the modifier panel. We'll click here, and then we'll go to subdivision surface. And then when we scroll down here, you can see there it is. We'll take the viewpoint up to 2. And then with everything selected, we'll press Z, and then we'll go to Shade Smooth. And now we have our subdivision surface on, and we basically can play with this head model in sculpt mode, and we can get a lot of different looking characters from this head. So what I would recommend you to do is I would recommend that I'm going to zoom back so you can see, here's the head. I would recommend you press Shift D with the head selected, and you make a duplicate of the head. I'm going to right click so it jumps right back. See this panel right here, this is layers for Blender. So currently we are on this layer right here. I still have that second duplicated head selected. So with my mouse over the 3D cursor, if I press M, you see this thing that says move to layer pops up. So I'm going to choose to move that duplicated layer right to this layer right here. So now you can see when you look here, there's like a little yellowish orange circle right here showing us that something's in that layer, even though we're on this layer. And what's cool about doing this is you can basically make changes to this head model, and then if you don't like it, you can either move it to another layer or get rid of it, whatever. You still have your unaffected original head mesh model right here. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to select this one right here. We're going to select here. Now we're going to go into sculpt mode. Okay, and what you can do in sculpt mode, like I said, this is the fun part. You click up here to your tools option. If you come to this grab brush right here, now you can start making very quick changes, and a lot of these changes are just made on what you would like. So suppose you want this guy to have a more chiseled like look, right? So you would press F to scale, and when you would press F. If you pull, you make the brush tool there go bigger. If you push in, you can make it go smaller. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger. And what we're going to do here is this guy, he kind of looks like a nice guy. He's not particularly athletic looking. Well, we can grab here, push in his cheeks, and give him a more kind of squared off jaw right here. Just with the the grab tool is very quick and easy. You can see now he looks a little bit more chiseled. We can take his chin, make his chin bigger, so he's got like kind of more of like the the hero guy chin thing going on. His head is a little bit not roundish in the back. We can easily in here just round off that back part of the head, and you can easily make adjustments to the lips. The general structure of the face, the ears, very cool and very easy, quick changes that you can make in sculpt mode. Okay, and some other things that you should know about as far as adjusting a face like this. If you click here and you go to inflate, suppose you wanted to affect the nose, make the nose have maybe a little bit more character. A couple of clicks of inflate, you can make the nose a little bit bigger. You can adjust the nostril size. Suppose this right here bugs you. You can click here. You can go to smooth mode. And you also, by the way, you can control the strength of these tools right here. So I click here. Now you can see that's gone. That's smoothed out. Okay, and along with playing and changing. Now that changing this male head mesh model, since you put the basic work of box modeling it up, what you can also do is we'll click here, we'll go back into object mode, we're going to apply this mirror modifier here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to take off. This is just an option. I'm not recommending you to do it. This is an option if you wanted to put in wrinkles, things like that, just a more extreme facial detail. We'll click off here, right? So now what you're going to do is click here, and then you're going to go to multi-resolution modifier. You're then going to go to subdivide here. Click once, twice. Now, your computer, depending on how strong your computer is how many times your computer will work well with subdivision. I'm going to take this all the way up to 4. And what that did is now that we can go back into scope mode, and you're probably like, oh, it looks very similar to when it had the subdivision surface, and you'd be correct. But what we can do here now is we can do things like this now. I'm going to press F to shrink this area of influence now. If we wanted to like put a thing in there for like eyebrows, we can do that. Just literally drawing it right out of the mesh. We can do things like we're gonna click right now, so like this tool right here is the draw tool. So you literally can like draw effects, or draw detail, I should say, right onto the face. So we can also click subtract, which can be good for things like this. We'll press F to shrink our tool size, a little bit, kind of like the things that you see here on people. If we wanted to put age, maybe the smile line right here, line of detail coming to the side of the face there. We can even shrink it down more. We'll press F and maybe get some extra lines like right there. Just very cool stuff. And then if you're saying, oh, it's kind of extreme, you can always come here. You can control the strength by here. Here's the smooth tool. We're going to press F, bring this up. We're going to lower the strength down some, and we'll just blend this stuff in here. I'm hoping to give you just an idea of like what you can do. Like once you have your basic face model done, I mean, there's a lot you could do. I mean, you can just keep adding on as far as this human male mesh face model or head model. Okay, with this last step we did, the one thing I want you to realize though is because we put this multi-resolution modifier, this current model that you see is not particularly good for animating. Before we put the multi-resolution modifier on, that other model should animate very well. And if you're like, oh, why didn't you tell us before we click this? Well, remember, I did tell you can go here and then just click here. And now this model right here, this model, you can see here's the options for the new model. If I click here, all of our options are still on there for this original model. So this model right here will animate well. However, this model right here will probably have some difficulties as far as animating it. However, you can, and I'm not going to go into it here, but you can take this model, you can actually make a displacement from this and put that on a lower version of this, and that would animate just fine with this extra detail in here. So I just don't want you to be confused about that. Typically when I model things so they can be animated. Again, this as it is would be hard to animate, but even there's a way of even bringing the detail from here, or suppose you had a whole face with all kinds of crazy detail. There is a way through using displacement maps of bringing that detail to a lower polygon head model. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. And to those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, then please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.